97% of men over 50 completely miss the exact moment a woman begins to flirt with them. Not because they are blind, slow, or disconnected, but because the signals are not the same as they were decades ago. She is not going to grab your arm and giggle like a teenager. She is not going to stare at you and say, "I like you." And she is definitely not going to boldly invite you out for drinks. Instead, she will ask a question. A soft question. A casual question, something that sounds harmless on the surface, but quietly opens a small door. And if you do not step through that door, it shuts just as quietly as it opened. That is how these chances disappear. You walk away thinking it was just a friendly chat. She walks away thinking, well, I guess he's not interested. You did not say anything wrong. You simply did not say the right thing because you never realized what she was really asking. That is what this video is about. These small moments, these quiet questions that do not sound romantic at all, yet show up as sideways looks, offhand comments, and curious little tests women use when they want to check the waters without jumping in first. Over the next few minutes, I am going to guide you through 8 subtle questions women ask when they are interested, but too careful, too respectful, or too unsure to say it directly. You will learn what she is actually asking, why it matters, and how to answer in a way that shows you are still in the game. Not chasing, not desperate, just present, calm, grounded, and fully yourself. Because here is the truth. After 50, most men do not need to try harder. They simply need to notice more. And once you start noticing, everything changes. You begin to see interest where you once only saw politeness. You start to feel warmth where you thought it was just small talk. And you recognize real adult attraction where you once believed you were invisible. Let's talk about the first question. It sounds harmless, but it is one of the biggest tests she will ever place in front of you. How old are you really? It sounds playful, almost light and teasing. But when a woman looks you straight in the eyes and asks, "How old are you?" and then adds that tiny word, "Really?" she is not asking for a number. She is asking for something deeper. She already knows you are not 30. She is not guessing for fun. What she is actually doing is checking how comfortable you are in your own skin. She wants to see if you carry your age like a heavy weight or like a quiet badge of honor. And the way you respond tells her everything. If you flinch, dodge the question, or turn it into a joke about getting old, she may smile. She may even laugh. But inside, the energy shifts. Because what she is looking for is not youth. It is presence, confidence, a feeling that you are still alive and engaged in your own life, not apologizing for the years you have lived. The men who stand out at this stage are not the ones trying to look younger than they are. They are the ones who have accepted their timeline. Men who can calmly say, old enough to know what matters and young enough to still enjoy the ride. Or maybe with a slow smile, do you want my age or my attitude? That kind of answer shows comfort. It shows strength. It shows that you are not hiding. I once spoke to a man named Rick. He was 64, divorced, with silver hair and a sharp sense of style. He told me about a conversation he had at a small downtown jazz lounge. The woman was probably late 40s or early 50s, smart, elegant, and clearly interested. After some easy back and forth, she leaned closer and asked, "So, how old are you really?" Rick thought he was being witty and replied, "Too old for you?" She laughed, but not in the way he expected. He told me he felt the spark fade almost instantly. Later that night, it finally hit him. He did not just dodge the question. He dodged the moment itself. That is what most men miss. These questions are not interviews. They are invitations. And when you answer them with self-doubt or self-mockery, she hears that message clearly, even if you think you are being funny. Under the surface, what is really happening is simple. As we get older, we carry more history, more scars, and more quiet fears about whether we are still seen and desired. Women feel that energy. And when they ask something like this, they are not curious about your age. They are curious about your aliveness. They want to know if the man in front of them still has fire, still has direction, still has life in him. So the next time a woman asks how old you are, do not rush for a punchline. Do not treat it like a trap. Treat it like a doorway. Because if she is asking, she is already thinking maybe. And your answer decides whether that door stays open or slowly closes. Another question that catches many men off guard is this one: why aren't you married? At first, it can sound personal, even a little sharp. But when a woman asks this with a soft tone and real curiosity, it is not an interrogation. It is interest wrapped in caution. She is not digging into your past just to hear stories or drama. What she is really asking is, are you emotionally available now? Is there space in your life for someone like me? This is where many good men trip. Some immediately launch into their entire romantic history, talking about divorce, heartbreak, and every disappointment they have ever faced. Others get defensive and brush it off with a bitter joke, saying something like, marriage? Tried that once, never again. Both reactions do the same thing. They quietly shut the window she just opened. She is not looking for a full report or a long explanation. She is listening for something much simpler. She is listening to how you carry the answer. Whether you are at peace with your past or still dragging it behind you like heavy luggage you never unpacked. Because at this stage in life, peace is attractive. Bitterness is not. And the calm way you answer tells her far more than the details ever could. A better response is simple, steady, and sincere without feeling heavy or complicated. Something calm and grounded like, life kept me busy for a long time, but now I finally have space for something real. Or, I just haven't met the right woman yet. Maybe that changes now. Notice how that kind of answer feels open instead of defensive. It does not sound bitter. It does not sound like you are carrying old wounds into a new moment. It feels like a door that is gently open instead of tightly locked. I remember a man named Gerald. He was 67, soft-spoken, worked with his hands most of his life, and had lost his wife many years ago. The kind of man who never complained and never asked for much. He told me about a woman he met at a small community garden. Nothing dramatic, no big movie scene. They were just standing there talking about tomatoes, soil, and how the weather had been strange that year. Very ordinary things. But ordinary things are often where life changes. After a few weeks of small conversations, she smiled at him one afternoon and asked, "So how come a man like you isn't married?" He froze inside. His shoulders tightened. He gave a stiff answer about how things didn't work out and quickly changed the topic like he was trying to escape. A week later, she stopped coming to the garden. Just like that, gone. Later, he told me, "I didn't realize she was asking because she was thinking about us. I thought she was just being polite." And you could hear the regret in his voice. Not loud regret, quiet regret, the kind that stays with you at night. That is the pattern most men never notice. These moments do not come with music or flashing lights. They don't announce themselves. They show up quietly, dressed as simple questions that seem harmless. Only later do you realize they were invitations. Psychologically, this is powerful. She is already feeling something, but she does not want to risk being vulnerable unless you show her it is safe to step closer. If your answer sounds cold, bitter, or closed off, she protects herself and steps back. But if your answer feels calm, open, and lightly warm, like a man who has healed and is ready for something new, it tells her everything she needs to know without you saying much at all. So when someone asks why you are not married, do not give her a reason to regret asking. Don't give her your pain. Don't give her a long story about betrayal or failure. Give her hope. Give her ease. Give her a reason to quietly wonder what could happen next. Another question that shows up often is this one. Do you date younger women? This question throws many men off balance. Some hear it and feel flattered. Others feel like they are being tested or judged. But when a woman asks this, she is rarely asking about your dating history or your past. She is quietly checking your openness. She is really asking, could you ever see someone like me as more than just a friend? Most of the time, she is not searching for a simple yes or no. She is listening for tone. She is paying attention to whether you make her feel respected or compared. She wants to know if the connection happening right now means more to you than a number on a calendar. Where men mess this up is very predictable. Some puff up their chest and start bragging about younger dates like they are trying to prove their value. Others shut it down completely by saying, "I'm way too old for you," cutting off the possibility before she even finishes the thought. Both reactions miss what is really happening. Because what she is actually asking is much softer and much more human. She is asking, "Do I have a chance with you?" A better answer keeps the focus on connection, not age. Something like, "I don't really date by age. I care more about energy and how we connect." Or, "What matters to me is how a woman makes me feel, not the year she was born." These kinds of answers relax her. They make her feel seen as a person, not categorized. I knew another man named Marcus. He was 59, always neat, always sharp, with a quick sense of humor. He met a woman at his favorite bookstore. She asked him for a recommendation, and they started talking. One topic turned into another. Soon they were laughing like old friends. They grabbed coffee nearby and kept talking. Then she leaned back and asked, "Do you usually date younger women?" He didn't panic. He didn't overthink. He just smiled and said, "I like women who bring good energy into my life. Younger or older doesn't matter much. If we click, we click." She smiled, not politely, but with real interest. You could see her relax. That conversation turned into dinner. Dinner turned into something deeper, not because he had the perfect line, but because he stayed present and calm. That is the power of presence. Not fumbling when the question is not really about what it sounds like, not reacting from fear, just answering like a grounded man who knows himself. Because when a woman asks something like that, it is often about permission. She wants to explore the possibility without feeling foolish. She wants to know you will meet her halfway and not embarrass her for trying. At this stage of life, attraction is rarely about clever tricks or smooth lines. It is about clarity, kindness, and a small spark of confidence. It is about making her feel safe enough to lean in instead of step away. And when she asks if you date younger women, that door is already slightly open right in front of you. The real question is not what you say. The real question is whether you step forward or quietly let the moment slip through your hands. Sometimes it sounds even more casual, almost like small talk. She might ask, "What kind of woman do you usually go for?" And it feels harmless, but it is not random. She is comparing herself to your answer. She is checking if she fits somewhere inside your world. This is not about building a checklist. It is about possibility. Here is where many men stumble. They take the question too literally and start listing traits like they are describing a product. Athletic, tall, blonde, loves hiking, enjoys travel, cooks well. Suddenly, it sounds like you are reading requirements off a menu. While you are listing, she is slowly shrinking inside, because every item that doesn't match her makes her feel further away from you. What they fail to understand is that she is watching closely. She is not just hearing the words, she is watching how you talk about women. She is listening to the energy behind your answer. She wants to know if you are chasing an image or open to a real human being. She wants to know if you have grown up emotionally, or if you are still stuck chasing some fantasy that never really existed. The better move is simple. Speak about qualities that matter, talk about character, talk about heart, talk about things that any genuine woman could have. Say something like, "I like women who are kind, thoughtful, curious about life, and able to laugh even when the day is tough." Or, "I'm drawn to women who are real and comfortable being themselves." Those answers feel warm. They create space. They make her think, maybe that could be me. And that is the goal, not to impress her, not to perform, but to create room for connection. Because most attraction at this stage is quiet. It is built in these small, simple moments. A calm answer, a gentle smile, a sentence that makes her feel safe instead of judged. Nothing dramatic. Yet everything changes from there. If you slow down and listen, you will notice something powerful. Women rarely say exactly what they mean in these early moments. They circle around it, they test the water, they ask soft questions. Your job is not to overanalyze. Your job is to stay open enough to recognize the invitation when it appears, and when it does, answer like a man who is ready, not a man who is hiding. Answer like someone who believes something good could happen, not someone protecting himself from pain. Because sometimes the difference between missing love and finding it is just one calm, honest sentence spoken at the right time. Notice how those qualities are things she can already see inside herself if she feels even a small pull toward you. And if she is asking that question at all, there is a strong chance she already hopes, deep down, that she matches whatever answer you give. I once spoke with a man named Elliot, 62, a retired firefighter with a steady voice and calm eyes. He met a woman during a volunteer project in his neighborhood. There was no big effort, no pressure, no trying too hard. They just worked side by side and talked. The connection felt easy, like something that had always been there. One afternoon, while they were painting a long wooden fence together, moving their brushes slowly in the warm sun, she looked over at him and asked, "So, what kind of woman do you usually go for?" He did not stop to calculate. He did not try to sound impressive. He simply said, "I guess I like someone calm, someone who makes a place feel peaceful just by being there." She did not respond right away. She just nodded and kept painting. But later that day, when everyone else packed up and left, she stayed behind to help clean the tools and put everything away. When he thanked her, she gave him a soft smile and said, "I was hoping I was your type." That is the quiet beauty of moments like that. When you answer with honesty instead of performance, when you speak from presence instead of trying to impress, you create space for attraction to grow on its own. From a psychological point of view, this question is a form of self-selection. She is gathering tiny clues, small signals, trying to decide whether she should step closer or slowly step back. And the way you respond can either gently confirm her interest or quietly shut the door without you even realizing it. So the next time a woman asks what kind of woman you usually go for, do not paint some perfect fantasy. Do not describe a movie character. Describe the kind of connection you want to build in real life, because chances are she is not asking you as just a friend. Then there is another question you might hear. Are you always this charming? It usually comes with a smile, maybe a soft laugh, maybe a playful look. On the surface, it sounds like a simple compliment, something light, but it carries more meaning than most men understand. She is doing two things at the same time. She is admitting that she feels a spark with you, and she is testing how you will handle that spark. This is one of those rare moments when attraction rises right up to the surface. It is gentle, but clear. The compliment is real, but what matters more is the question underneath. What she is really asking is whether you can stay grounded in the moment without getting nervous, whether you can accept warmth without hiding behind jokes or sarcasm, whether you can simply be there with her. A lot of men pull back right here. They brush it off, they deflect, they make a joke like, "Only on Tuesdays," or "Guess I'm just having a good day." And just like that, the spark weakens, the moment slips away. What could have grown closer suddenly feels distant. A better response stays light but steady. Something like, "Only when I'm around someone who brings it out in me," or "I save it for moments that actually matter." When you answer this way, your tone quietly says, "I'm here. I see you. I'm comfortable with this connection. I'm not afraid of it." That makes her feel safe enough to stay in that moment with you instead of backing away. Alan, 68, a quiet widower with a thoughtful nature, once told me about a small dinner party at a friend's house. He was sitting across from a woman he had just met. At one point, she leaned in a little closer and asked, "Are you always this charming, or is it just tonight?" He smiled calmly and said, "That depends. Are you always this curious, or am I just lucky?" He told me she held his gaze a little longer after that, with a look that clearly said, "Now we are getting somewhere." That exchange was not really about charm at all. It was about chemistry. It was about two people slowly stepping past the line of friendly and into something a little deeper without pressure or drama. Psychologically, this is one of the gentle ways women show interest. Your job is not to impress her with clever lines. Your job is simply to receive the moment without shrinking away from it. Then, there is a question that sounds simple, but carries real weight. Why don't you have a girlfriend? On the surface, it seems casual, almost like small talk. But it means much more than that. She is no longer just chatting. She is wondering if there is space in your life for someone like her. She is not asking about your schedule or your past. She is asking whether you are emotionally open. Many men answer this in ways that sound closed without even noticing. They say, I'm set in my ways, or I like my freedom too much, or relationships are just too much trouble now. And without meaning to, they quietly shut the door. The energy changes. She hears those words and thinks, there is no room for me here. She is not simply asking if you are single. She is asking if you are available, not just physically, but emotionally. The best answer leaves space for possibility. You might say, I've been waiting for something that feels real, or I took my time, but I'm still open to being surprised by the right person. Those kinds of answers feel warm. They feel hopeful. They say that your heart is still open. William, 71, calm and confident, once told me about being asked this exact question at an art gallery. He looked at her and replied, I spent time learning how to be a better man. Now I'm ready for a better kind of love. He said her eyes never left his after that. She could feel that he wasn't bitter or closed off. He was ready, and that readiness is attractive. Women later in life are just as afraid of rejection as men are, maybe even more. Instead of directly saying how they feel, they often ask questions like these. Brave questions disguised as curiosity, soft approaches instead of bold confessions, and how you answer tells her everything she needs to know. It tells her whether it is safe to go deeper with you or safer to protect herself and step away. And then there is the most vulnerable question of all. Would you ever date someone like me? This is the closest thing to a confession without actually saying it. She is not fishing for compliments. She is not joking around. She is placing herself right in front of you, emotionally exposed. Even if she smiles while asking, there is real vulnerability underneath. A lot of men freeze at this moment. They go neutral. They overthink. They change the subject. And she feels that shift immediately. She feels exposed and pulls back to protect herself. The best answer is not clever. It is not fancy. It is simply honest and warm. Something as simple as, I'd be lucky to, and then let the silence breathe. Let the truth land. You do not need more words than that. Charlie, 66, former military, once told me about an evening walk at sunset with a woman he had been getting to know. The sky was orange and quiet. Out of nowhere, she asked him that exact question. He paused, looked at her, and said softly, yes, I already am in my mind. She reached for his hand right then and did not let go. These questions are never random. They are not small talk. They are openings. Quiet doors being unlocked, one by one. Little invitations to step closer. The real question is never the words she speaks. The real question is whether you choose to step forward when the moment shows up, or whether you step back out of fear. Because attraction does not grow from perfect lines or clever tricks. It grows from presence, honesty, and the courage to stay in the moment when it matters most.